Hey guys, welcome back to Bear Mountain Builds. I'm Zach. And today we're building an adjustable cedar planter box. This is about 3 feet tall, 17 inches wide, and 17 inches deep, and it's designed to fit up to a 13-inch diameter pot, which means you could fit a number 2 planting pot like this, and it fits perfectly. Or you can take your standard 12-inch hanging pot that's 7 inches tall and drop it right in. Or a plant that wants to drape that's in a 6-inch pot. Plus, you can drop your platform all the way down and fit a full-size 5-gallon bucket, no problem. It looks great, but it's made out of literally the cheapest wood you can find at the big box store, cedar fence pickets. This planter box is super versatile, but it also looks really good, and honestly, it's a super straightforward and simple build. But to make it even easier for you guys, I offer detailed plans that include material lists, cut plans, and full assembly instructions. So if you're interested in those, you can check those out down below. And with that, hit the subscribe button, and let's get started. So like most builds, we're starting with our frame. Now, our frame is going to be made out of 2x2s, which is actually 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. You can buy 2x2s from the store. However, I recommend you don't do that. 2x2s are generally pretty garbage wood. They're twisty, they're turny. It's just nothing you want to buy. So instead, the most cost-effective way that I like to do it is you buy yourself a 2x6 and then strip it down into 2x2s. For this build, I'm using a cedar tone pressure-treated 2x6. You want to use pressure treated if this thing's going to be outside. If it's not going to be outside, you can just go ahead and use regular lumber. It is cheaper. I use cedar tone because I like the look of it. Generally, it's a lot drier, so it's easier to work with immediately from the store. However, it can be just ever so slightly more expensive, which is probably why it's drier, because it just sits there and dries longer. To make everything really easy, first we're going to take this over to our miter saw and just cut this up into more manageable lengths. Then we'll take those pieces over to our table saw, cut off our bull nose to square off our edges, and then strip it into 1.5 inches. I'm sure a lot of you guys are running job site table saws. Now, I love a job site table saw. They're really cost effective and they work really great. I run a thin kerf blade. Now, a thin kerf blade is 25% thinner of a kerf than your standard kerf blade, which means you're taking out 25% less wood, which also means that your saw is not working as hard anymore. I really like them. It makes these rips a lot easier. Highly recommend you look into them. One thing to note is you are not going to be able to run the standard riving knife that comes with your table saw. So when I made the move to thin kerf blades a couple years back, I looked everywhere for a thin kerf riving knife. They don't really exist that much. So as an engineer, I decided to make my own. It's made out of stainless steel. Decided to paint it black because it looks cooler. And I offer this for several different saw models. It works with all these different thin kerf blades. And if you're interested in this, you can check it out. I'll have a link to it down in the video description. I don't know if you just saw that, but I just got hit like right here underneath my safety glasses, so always wear safety glasses when you're cutting through knot holes. All right, we've got all of our pieces cut to length, so if you're looking for all the dimensions for this, it's in the plans. You can find that link down below. So next up, it's time to start putting our frame together. Now, most of you guys who watch the channel know that I am a huge fan of pocket holes. However, when I'm dealing with pressure-treated lumber, I just don't like using pocket holes. They don't work very well. There's something with the treatment process that they just kind of grind away. They don't actually tighten anything up. So we're going to be keeping these joints super simple for this build. All we're going to be doing is we're going to pre-drill some holes in our main vertical legs. And then we're just going to run one screw right through and into the cross section of our cross pieces. And we're just going to be using a little bit of waterproof glue. Now you might see me using Titebond 2 bottle. It's not actually Titebond 2. I've scribbled it out. It is 3. I've drawn it on there because I buy it by the jug now. Putting this frame together is going to go really fast. So we're going to start off with pre-drilling all of our holes. So for this, we're gonna be marking off a lot of center holes. Now here's a super easy way to find your center. We're just gonna be using our bare mountain build spacers with the 3/4 inch spacer. Since these are 1.5 by 1.5 inches, all you gotta do is set your spacer off to your end, mark it, then set it on the bottom, mark it, and you've got a cross right dead center where you need it. And then you can do that for all of them, and it makes the whole process go way faster than trying to go through and measure everything individually with a tape measure. I will admit you do need to find your center with the tape measure, but everything else you can do with spacers. And if you want to pick yourself up a set of spacers, you can find that link down below. Now, if you're somebody who ever has struggled with drilling straight down into your wood because it's just hard to feel that angle, I've got a great solution for you. You get these little adhesive levels. I put them on the back side of my drill. It gets you close enough for your straight up and down. Really love them. I'll have them linked down below if you want to check them out. All right, we've got all of our leg pieces pre-drilled, so now we can start putting our frames together. Now we're just going to be doing one side, then the other side. We're just going to take our cross pieces, put a little glue on them, clamp them in place, and run a 2.5 inch screw right through the whole dang thing. All right, we got our two frame halves all put together. Now it's time to get them connected with some more cross pieces. We're just gonna do the same method as before, pre-drill all of our holes, and then drill right into the end piece. For this part, since we already got screws going straight through our corners, instead of our cross pieces being flush with everything, we're just going to be offsetting those down by another 1.5 inches. That way, our screws don't interfere with each other. These top and bottom cross pieces are offset by 1.5 inches down, so we're just going to use some of our unused cross pieces to help space it out. All right, frame's all done. We're rock solid. Only thing we got left is we have some gaps up here. This is going to be the top of the planter box, and we need to have something for our cedar top pieces to mount into. So we've got two more cross pieces that we're just going to fit right in here. It just gives us something to mount into. So we're going to get those attached with just some more screws and glue. So now that our frame is complete, we're going to move on to building out our adjustable platform. Our adjustable platform is going to be working the same way for all of our joints. We're just going to use some glue, single screws through the end grain. If you're wondering, I'm doing a lot of dimensions and spacing and everything. I don't go into that in the videos, but you can find all of it in my plans. Voila. Now, when I'm drilling holes in a line like this that need to be perfectly spaced out, I don't like measuring them because there's going to be a lot of tolerance creep. Nothing works really all that well, especially when you need to have all 4 sets lined up. So when I was doing that for holding up shelves on my vertical sliding storage shelves, I made a hole guide like this, and honestly, it works super well. It honestly works so well that I've made another one specifically for this planter, for these 1.5 inch frames that's going to center our holes perfectly. It's going to make this whole process super fast and easy. And if you want to check it out, I'll have it linked down below. The Beer Mountain Builds hole guide also comes with a drill bit and collar so we can set our depth. So in the case of our planter box, we're going to be setting our depth to 5/8 of an inch. That gives us enough bite with our pin that it's going to stay in place, but it's not so deep that it's hard to remove. Now here's a really easy way to set your depth. All we're doing is we're taking a 1/2 inch spacer plus an 1/8 inch spacer stacked on top of that. Then we can take our hole guide, lay it across our spacers, take our drill bit with our collar on there, stick it through the hole until it rests up against our tabletop. Collar is going to rest up against our hole guide, and then we can just go ahead and tighten our collar. And then with that, our depth is set. So with that, our frame is all put together. We got holes drilled so we can put those in place with our pegs. Then we can put our platform in place. Just like that, our frame is all done. Honestly, the whole build for this goes really fast. If you're new to woodworking, planter boxes are a really great place to start because they're very forgiving. Nothing needs to be perfect. It's not like you're building a table where everything needs to be really square. It's a planter box that's going to exist outside. It's going to probably move just a little bit while it's out there. So really great place to start. And if you want to make it even easier, I offer plans for the whole build. It includes material lists, cut plans, and detailed assembly instructions. Honestly, couldn't be any easier. You can check those out down below. Now we're moving on to doing some cedar siding. Fence pickets are the cheapest way to get good siding for your planter boxes because they're usually treated or it's cedar. Now there are a couple options when it comes to fence pickets. The first one is you can just get a standard fence picket that is treated lumber. Now these are going to be the cheapest option, but the only reason you'd really want to use these is if you're planning on painting it or doing a very dark stain for your siding. These are the way to go. They're about half the cost of everything else. And honestly, if you live somewhere like Ireland, because I've had guys from Ireland asking, hey, where do you buy cedar? You don't have it in Ireland, sorry. But you can get a treated fence picket. At least I think so, because I assume in Ireland you guys have fences. If you want to go for something that's a little bit more wood toned, where you don't want to do a really dark stain, you don't want to paint it, you can go with a cedar toned fence picket. Now this isn't actually cedar, but it is toned to look like cedar, but you're going to be stuck with your more rough finish, which if that's what you're going for, great, you're good to go. But if you plane it, it's going to look like regular wood again. You're going to have to do staining on it if you want to have something smooth like this. So in general, if you don't want to do any treatment, you want it to look like cedar, but it's still treated and have that same color, this is the way to go. You can just get cedar tone fence pickets. Now finally, what you can do is you can get actual cedar fence pickets. Generally, these are a little bit cheaper than your cedar tone fence pickets, but this is 1/2 inch thick, whereas this is 3/4 of an inch. But it's actual cedar, so it's going to be a lot more resistant to the outdoors. And if you don't want to have that rough outside look, you can run it through a planer. Gives a really cool modern look. It shows off the two-tone in there. This is what I'm going to be doing for our build, but this is an option because it's actual cedar. You can plane as much of it as you want. That's really weird to just sniff boards, but I really do like the smell of cedar because they smell like cedar because they are cedar. And then also, if you want to get a little bit of color going on, whether it's cedar, not cedar or anything, you can get cedar tone stain and put it on directly on your cedar. It's very orange. I don't really like this stain on actual cedar, but it's good if you have fence pickets like this one that's cedar toned that you plane down and you want it to still have that orange look. You can also get a clear natural stain. Now, it says natural, but it's pretty yellow. I personally am not a big fan of this on cedar because it's more of just like a standard wood color, not a cedar wood color. And then finally, you can do like a urethane that it's just clear. It doesn't change the color at all, but it does add a little bit of UV protection and it will prevent this from graying out, but you're probably gonna wanna recoat your planter box every year or so just to keep it this natural color. Now with that out of the way, I've got plenty of cedar boards to run through the planer and get all cut up. Real quick before we start planing our cedar, if you're somebody with the DeWalt 735 planer and you were like me and you hated duct taping your dust collector hose onto the backside of your planer, look no further because I've redesigned my big and beefy Bear Mountain Builds elbow adapter, hooks onto the planer with the factory mounting. It can fit your 2.5 inch hose with no muss or fuss, and it redirects it off to the side so it gets it out of the way of your boards. So with that, let's start some planing. Alrighty, we've got all of our cedar pickets planed down. They cleaned up really good. This is why I love using cedar pickets. Not only do they look good, but they're cheap too. So with that, let's cut some wood. This is a very simple build, but we don't want our planter box to look really simple. We want it to look high-end because high-end either A, gets you a compliment, or B, means you can charge a high-end price. What we're going to be doing is we're going to take these over to our table saw and we're going to strip them out into several different thicknesses. It's all going to look symmetrical. It's going to look great. You've already seen it though because you saw the intro. I've only seen a model of it. So with that, let's go strip out some boards. I'm going to be crisping up one side first and then we'll strip everything out to final width. So when we're installing these slats, there is one thing to be aware of, and that is we're going to have lap joints for our cedar pieces at the corners. So when you're first doing your sides, you want to start with the side that's going to get lapped over. So we're going to be using our skinnier piece that's going to go right up against the edge of our frame here. And then once we have that whole side in, you can come back and do the next side where your wider piece laps over that skinnier piece and it makes your corner just like that. So we're going to be installing these slats with an 1/8 inch gap. Like usual, I'm going to be using my spacers to do it. Makes it really easy, especially with some of these slats from cedar pickets can start to get wonky where they want to kind of bow one way or another, and you can use these spacers to force everything into the position you want it. This is why you do it. You don't need my spacers for this build. You can just go ahead and cut out spacers. That's what I did for years. However, I made these spacers because I was really sick of cutting out spacers for years. So with that, we can go ahead and start installing our slats. For this, we're going to be mounting these in place using our 18 gauge brad nailer with 1.5" brad nails. We're using our board to set our baseline at the bottom of our frame. That way everything can butt right up against it. Alrighty, we've got all of our cedar slats on our frame. The planter box is really coming together. It's looking really good. I'm getting really excited. However, we got a little bit more finishing work to do here. Now, as you can tell, our frame is still exposed up here. If you're building this for yourself, you could just stop here. If you have a big enough plant, it could just cover all this and you don't even have to worry about it. However, if you're going to be selling this, I highly recommend you put some cedar slats up here as well. Covers everything up. It makes it look really good and even more finished, which means you can sell it for more. So for these top pieces, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can just do really super simple lap joints like we did on our corners. Makes it really easy. However, I'm going to be doing miter joints because I really like the look of miter joints, and I want to show you guys a really simple way to do miter joints even when your corners aren't perfectly square. So let's drop this thing down on the floor so I don't have to feel like a 2-year-old working on something at the dining table. So all you got to do is you got to take two pieces, put it on opposite sides of each other, then take your other two pieces and you're just going to set these on top where they're going to go as well. We're going to match up our corners between the piece that's below and the piece that's on top and do it on both sides so these match up really well. So we want to make sure our angles are correct. And then we can just mark that bottom board right along the edge of that top board. Now that's going to indicate where we need to cut our miter. So then we're going to do the same thing over on this side. We'll mark that. So then now that these two boards are marked, we're just going to go ahead and flip these so that these are on the bottom and these ones are on the top. So then we can go ahead and mark these two boards as well. And just like that, we got everything marked, so we can take these over to our miter saw and make our cuts from that marked corner all the way to our exterior corner. And that will be our miter cut. All right, let's see how we did. Nice and tight fit, but that is perfect. With that, we can just throw a little bit of glue on here, some brad nails, we're good to go. So with that, our planter box is fully functional, ready to go. Now I'm gonna do one more thing just because I wanna show you guys how to do it more than anything. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in my brad nail holes. You definitely don't need to do this. Honestly, once this thing's on the ground, the brad nail holes all but disappear. But I wanna show you guys how to do it for either this project or a future project because it's super easy. You use a mixture of glue and sawdust that you've had from the leftover cedar, mix it all together, push it in the hole, let it dry, sand it flush, you're good to go. Very easy, but here's how you do it. So then you just let that dry, come over it with a sander real light, everything's disappeared. It's time for our last step. Now, I get pretty excited for this last step, I'm not gonna lie, because it really makes everything pop. What we're doing is we're gonna be applying some oil-based Spar urethane. I like oil-based because it offers a lot more protection than water-based, and it really pumps up the contrast for cedar. It's gonna make these reds look really red. It's gonna make our whites look very white. Looks really good. Let's just get it on here and you can actually see what it's gonna look like. Alrighty, with that, our planter box is done. Gotta say, it turned out really great. I love building cedar planter boxes because the colors just look really good. I think it's really interesting having our adjustable platform in here now so you can fit all sorts of different types of pots. This planter is designed specifically for 13-inch and smaller pots, but you can put in pots like this. This is a number 2 pot with a hydrangea in it. Now this is 9 inches tall and it's totally flush here, but you can also go and save yourself some time and just buy a hanging pot like this. Now this is a 12-inch pot, but it is 7 inches tall, and that will also fit totally flush in there. It looks really good. Super pleased with how everything turned out. Take a look at my Bear Mountain Builds hole guide with the 3/4 inch inset. It's designed specifically for these 1.5 inch frames so that those pins are all lined up dead center on your frame. Makes the whole process super easy. Nothing's gonna be out of square so you don't get a tilty platform or anything. So checking that out really does help me out a ton. Along with that, I just had this idea recently because there's a lot of you guys who are watching this channel, you're getting the plans, you're building this stuff, and I've had several of you reach out and send me emails with pictures of your finished products. And I gotta say, that is probably like the coolest part about this channel. I mean, heck, that's why I have all of these flags up on my wall because that's where my subscribers are from. And I just think it's super cool. So from now on, I would really love it if you guys do buy these plans and you build the project. Send me a picture of it. You can send it to zach@bearmountainbuilds.com. Send me where you're from too, and I would love to put it up on my website just to showcase your guys' builds because you guys really take these builds to another level. I mean, you guys are doing stuff that I haven't even thought of, and I just think that is so cool. So let me know where you're from. I will keep everything anonymous. I'm just gonna put in there like what city you're from just so you can kind of get a feel for where everybody is because I mean, Bear Mountain Builds, it's a global brand now, baby. So there you go. So with that, as usual, hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all my future builds. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, hit the like button for me. Helps me out a ton and I really do appreciate it. And leave a comment, let me know what you think of the build. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.